I wanna rock your body. Bro, it's like I learned how to do something and then I lost it. Wow. What else? Absolutely, positively. What else? Puzzle code in my head, on the wall. Don't freak out, don't freak out. Easy fix, easy fix. This book is going to be taken with an absolute granulated grain of salt, but let's go. We're going to cut through all of the pages, so it's going to be a lot of pages. I think it's a total of, I can't do math, but 76. Nope, yeah, can't do math. 75. Puzzle code on the wall. Don't freak out. If you are, let me do this. Also, zoom in. Don't be so quick, just I clicked on my screen. Is that too much info? I'm so. If you are diligent in your application into the New Age truths and from the now on, you will be quite likely to reach the coming millennium in the flesh and get safely past the great shift without the slightest bit of physical harm coming into you during the whole thrilling experience. But you must see it that the coverings of the light are removed from your mind and your spirit. And you shall know, and for yourself, as a true and being ready to take your place in the new age of peace, power, and plenty. In the days coming, you will be guided, and for the way you are, for much of your safety further in the progress. Much hidden knowledge about the valuable instructions will be given unto you. Often in quite strange and yes, in mysterious ways, but always at the time and when you need guidance the most. Little did I know when I wrote above words into you just how prophetic they were to become in the passage of time. I could not realize then that my own mind had attained the act of a channel for the mind superior to mine. These new adventures began for me shortly after I had my first successful attempt at space telepathy, in which I had contacted mentally a living human being, a complete stranger to me, who informed me that he was a citizen of the planet Venus. The astonishing details of our conversation convinced me of one simple fact. Whosoever this mysterious stranger was, he had access to a universal wisdom which the earth has failed to recognize. Surely a wisdom like this must be entrusted to the recognized people, and the right people on our own planet would prove to be a great boon and to humanity there. And it would aid into our higher forces of Venus. At the conclusion of the first communication with my superintelligent, communication from Venus gave me a definite instructions and to when and how I would hear from him again. When you're next to become aware of certain sounds vibrating in the key of D, you will know that I am seeking to contact you again. It will be a soft bell-like note from an unusual penetrating quality, which for so is on the morrow of the half hour after the sunset. I shall then explain to you my seeming mysteries and banish whatsoever doubts you may have now in regarding me. With these words, our communication ceased, and I could hear his voice no longer. I looked closely at my watch and saw that it had indicated 3 a.m. We had been in a mental rapport and for an hour, yet it seemed to be like only a few moments. A confusion of thoughts occupied my mind. Had I been dreaming so vividly as to believe this astounding experience was real, or was it possible that some new and great scientific principle, heretofore known and unexpected by earthlings, to be demonstrated? The more I thought about it, the more baffling it became. Finally exhausted as I went from tossing this thought about in my mind, a deep and comforting sleep overpowered me, and I slept for many hours. Awakening the following morning from my sleep, I have found myself feeling unusually refreshed and invigorated. All of my mind. I have never prided myself on having an expectationally good memory, Yet oddly enough, I could recall it with greatest ease and with clarity. Every word, idea presented to me, my mysterious friend, whose dynamic mental waves had just reached in front of me from the wondrous, beautiful planet Venus. Immediately, I had set up work and began transcribing of all the paper on the important information of Venusian, and I had conveyed into me that this was an accomplished speedily and entrusted to my loyal secretary for safekeeping, and perhaps a publication later. I now began to realize more than before how remarkable the mental communications I had received were. At the same time, I had wondered what the beings were who had conversed with me, thought the transmission between his world and mine was really like. However, a few hours would tell, and though I looked forward and with a great eagerness into being promised to the interview, that very evening I busied myself as best as I could with the day's work. After all the necessary activities and of the day had been duly performed, I got into my car and went for a drive into the nearby hills of Santa Barbara. Just in case you might not be familiar with this lovely little city, let me hasten to say that it is now one of the most beautiful beach mountain resort towns in all of the world. Industry has not besmogged the air of Santa Barbara. It's still fresh and pure and vitalizing in the way the Creator had intended it to be. Few towns on the California coast have developed such a wholesome, peaceful spirit as this one. Good music, all the fine arts, and wonderful culture flourish to Santa Barbara. Yes, it is indeed a beautiful town, fabulous trees and flowers, and lush green vegetation that thrive in the semi-tropical climate. For these and other good reasons, I settled here some years ago, and to my mind, it was still the same wonderful Garden of Eden. That it was when I first discovered it. As I had drove towards the mountains, I had no particular destination in mind except to find a peaceful spot as possible from to make my second mental contact with the Venusians. Our next communication by telethought was scheduled and to take place only a half an hour from now. Somehow it seemed to me that the most suitable place for a telepathic communication would be some high point in the hills overlooking all of the city. There I could find the essential seclusion that quieted the so necessary for success in any telepathic test. At the foot of the hills lies the old Santa Barbara Mission, one from the whole chain, such as missions founded by Father Junipero Serra back in the early Spanish days in California. From this famed landmark in Santa Barbara, I turned my car from Los Olivos Avenue onto the mountain drive. I drove in a relaxed manner, slowly and carefully, wending my way up the mountain road. In a few minutes, the mountain drives had branched up in the direction of a very secluded monastery, owned and built many years ago by the Franciscan Fathers, and it was known to be as Mount Calvary Retreat House, and it had been originally selected by the fathers of an ideal location for long periods of peaceful meditation on the Christian ministries. Intuitively, then, I had sensed that I should continue in the direction of the retreat house, that and before I got to the summit of the frankincense, which were located in the perfect spot from the telethought, would be found. Las Conos Road led me to a small signpost. It indicated that I should now follow El Calito Road and that it would lead me into the direction I wished to go. This I did, and it was soon gratified in being to see an ancient, weather-beaten rustic sign pointed towards the retreat house, which was only a quarter mile further in the winding mountain road. By this time the sun was just gone below the horizon. Quickly I turned onto the quarter-mile road, leading upwards, searching for carefully as I drove for the best place and to a stop higher. I went to the more beautiful scenic views that became the quieter and more ideal the atmosphere seemed. About 500 yards from Mount Calvary Retreat House, I had came to a natural lookout spot just off the road. From this vantage point, close to the summit of the mountain, one could only see a peaceful green valley below. The entire Santa Barbara countryside, beautiful as I dreamed, stretched out for miles to the south above me like a shimmering silver disk hung onto the moon. The brightest planet in the sky, Venus, Our evening star was clearly visible also. I pulled my car onto the mountain ledge and got out to walk around. This was certainly an ideal spot for mental communication. There weren't any signs of life considerably into the distance. The view from this height was an awe-inspiring, but what impressed me most was the uttering stillness here. It was so quiet to seem almost hollow to the ground, the serene stillness broke only by occasional sound of birds. How truly wise was the Franciscan monks were to have such a perfect location for their retreat house. I climbed onto a large, smooth rock, sat down, looked at my watch. 6:20. I had 10 minutes. There was little time yet to think over the situation. If all went well, another scientific miracle was soon to occur. From another world, 26,886 miles distant, and the thought of waves are almost extraordinarily human and being that were to connect to my mind, a new illuminating conversation would take place between us that might very well transform my life. The remarkable being on a far-away Venus must have some vitally important purpose behind these communications with me, some grand purpose undoubtedly, being to serve this in unusual fashion, but as yet it was a mystery. Perhaps with the making of this new contact that I'll get an explanation for that mystery and learn the real purpose of my communication. By nature, I am a practical soul, not given too overcredibly to the hallucinations or nor somnambulism, and but however my previous conversation with the Venetians had a sense of reality to it. Any long distance phone call I had ever received from my personal friends in Los Angeles, telepathy between worlds seemed by no means beyond the realm of possibilities. If I cut my musing short to glance again at my watch, time had passed rapidly. It was 6:28, any moment now. All was intensely quiet, not for a sound anywhere. I relaxed into a warm breeze of California evening air and looked upwards to the bright and lovely planet Venus. Then I heard it, a pulsing, vibrant musical chord in the key of D. How beautiful and melodious it was, and with the ethereal quality about it that made it strangely different from any musical sound I have ever heard on earth. It seemed to vibrate with an unusual overtones that once relaxed me into being the most wonderful manner. All my tense and expectancy had vanished, and I was waiting calmly for the voice of the Venetian teacher. My greetings to you, Michael, and to all my brothers and sisters on planet Earth. His voice was vibrant with an earnest feeling, and it had every word that had a pleasing, velvet, smooth quality about it. I felt highly elated. This was the same remarkable personages with whom I had conversed at length in the earlier hours of the previous day. Now I knew that our communications were real, and that telethought between planets was completely feasible. Though I did not yet understand the principles of governing it, I joyously returned into the greetings to my Venetian friend. He seemed very pleased to hear my voice, and again he spoke. First of all, Michael, I want to thank you for your sincere belief in me and my world. It was in your faith and my promise to again contact you in this evening that has brought you and our minds together. For this is an important meeting. You are wondering who I am, what my real purpose is, and communicating with an inhabitant of Earth. These are natural questions, and I shall answer them now. As I revealed unto you in our last conversation, I am a human being similar in basic structure to your people on Earth. With a certain modifications you will discover in due time, I am known on my planet as Lonzara, keeper of the life charnic flame. My special work here has to do with the purifying of healing, rejuvenating, and all those peoples of Venus who have not yet attained into a higher state of adeptship. You should know that there are much numerous level of minds here, just as that on Earth, yet even lower grades of mentalities here are remarkable and would be considered brilliant. If in contrast into the minds of beings on certain other planets in our solar systems, my purpose in contacting you tonight in Teleshah is twofold. One, to assure you that we of Venus are godly people. Having discovered some millions of years ago our relationship with Father and Mother, principles of creation. In the universe, we have discovered that one power rules the entire cosmos, and this power is always interested in how human race is progressing in its divine unfoldment. We to serve the higher interests of your planet as well as our own. Some of our people are living on earth now, yet and to have seldom believed to have been recognized and from anything other than your own fellow earthlings. Our mission is to provide an awakening stimulus of spiritual nature to the minds of those who we did not contact to direct them onto the path. But I do not want to confuse you with too many details too soon. Simply put, my purpose is to unfold you and all of your sincere friends and the students of Earth on the basic truths of our secret science of life, love, and light. This great knowledge will not be given to you all at once. Each time we are in mental communication, you shall increase in understanding so more of the science that can be transmitted of your mind and soul at the proper time when we are sure you can handle the direct, certain, unusual forces within you. You will be entrusted with soul powers as yet undreamed of by your people. These powers are used and by the higher minded earthlings that shall serve and to usher the coming of a golden age, where your planet shall blossom forth at last with startling new spiritual powers that will inaugurate the regime of the enlightened souls. My second purpose is contacting you first and to reveal you to the working principles of teleshot, mental radio, and of the mental television in order that our future mental communication shall be more perfect and enjoyable. On Venus, the science of telepathy long since has superseded all other means of thought communication, and it becomes so simple and a commonplace that our other methods now seem crude. At this point in our soul evolution, we are born with positive telepathic powers. We inherited telepathy now, just as Earthmen inherit a particular temperament or a character of physical prowess. It is easier and more effective for us to project thoughts than it is to speak words. Therefore, while many of us can do speak audibly, we consider it backwards, a step and to prefer the natural faculty of teleshot and the power of mental vision. Once it is possible for an intelligent human beings to communicate to one another on every humanized planet in our solar system. At this point, Lon Zara paused and was sensing into my question. I had in mind asked him how the human brain operates, as was making so much an amazing transmission of thoughts and reality. However, to my astonishment, the cosmic teacher for such now I have realized true answer before me until I had consciously framed my question into a complete idea. Two primal forces exist in the universe, he said. In total aspect, they make up the one power that runs all of the cosmos and animates all of the intelligent beings therein. One of these forces is known as viticity. The other is known as electricity. Scientists on Earth are familiar with the second force, but are totally unaware of the extent of the first force, viticity, where electricity is an expression of physical energy. The force of viticity was the expression of the mental energy. One is the power of the matter that the other is. The power of the mind in which these two is superior. Viticity, the power of the mind is superior, I answered at once. I have always believed that intelligence has supremacy over matter and can motivate any desire of purpose. In fact, we have commonly recognized, saying on Earth, the effect that physical phenomena is due with mind over matter. Mom, that is indeed true, said Lonzara. It is mental power that rules the entire universe, and it is the same and to be expected into the force of viticity that it is utilized by and to us, transmission of our thoughts and images through us in vast reaches of space to any human beings anywhere in the universe. Space and distance offer no barriers between the dynamic power of viticity. It is essential, however, that the person who wishes and to receive telepathical messages be able to attune himself or herself into the proper mental wavelength. Also, the intensity of vitical powers and to use the transmission is in one thoughts is very important. In order to make these vital points much clearer to you, I shall now project from my brain into yours a large voltage of vitrons. These vitrons are tiny units of vitical force. A vitron is opposite in polarity to an electron, which you know is a tiny unit of electrical force. The notice effect. A split second later, and to my astonishment, things had happened. I began to see with my inner eye in a most vivid manner and in a full color. Before, only my physic faculty of distance and hearing had been actively functioning for me. Now I could see the study of whatever scenes came into my mental focus. At this moment, I could not get the view of my teacher, Lanzara. Evidently, he was not yet ready to show himself. I consoled myself into thinking that very soon I might have the privilege of seeing him, and my hopes high began and to observe the image that was now appearing into my mental screen. I had found the most unusual enlightening. I see a diagram of the inner workings of the human brain and remarks as soon as I was calm enough to continue. It reveals the position in which the function of a man's pituitary and pineal glands, the physic organs used for teleshot and mintavision. Lonzaro was pleased. Splendid, he said. Now, if you will follow the diagram as I direct you, see diagram number 1 at the top of the left page. I shall reveal to you exactly how your brain is able to produce the remarkable phenomenon called teleshot of mintavision. At birth, nature automatically provides every human brain with a built-in mental television set. Why? Because only by means of this natural communication equipment is man enabled and to achieve a mental attunement with a report of all other intelligence of minds anywhere in the universe. An electrical current, a flow of electrons, passes an unimpediment and through this earth. And a vitic current, a flow of vitron passes the impediment and through the ethers of space almost instantly. This wonderful faculty for a two-way thought communication is truly one of the greatest gifts God bestowed upon man. Of course, just as with any of man's other faculties, the powers must be developed by active exercise if it is expected to be one of the greatest services of value to him. Teleshot and mintavision are New Age faculties that will open up the glorious new vistas and for the earthlings who will develop them. Ignorance will forever be banished, and for these faculties, all beings are capable of seeing, hearing, and talking to one another via mental television. This means the mental communion of minds and to mind, from planet to planet, Earth to Venus, Venus to Earth, etc., from teacher to pulpit, respectively of space and distance, is not only being accomplished now, but will be a reality for many more sincere earthlings into the new age, the golden millennium, just ahead. In the diagram, the small figures I indicate your thoughts into the receiver are an anatomical, the pituitary gland. This is the contact point within your physical brain that enables you to receive your thought waves and from the others of the distant points on Earth and from some other inhabited planet. Figure 2 the diagram and designates your vitronic thought picture screen. Vitronic. It consists of optic nerve cells that are specially designed into forming the mental images, where in this area the nerve cell is energized, and during your sleep you have dreams, unusually in black and white and sometimes in full color. Now we have to come into the third essential part of your built-in TV set, namely the thought transmitter. This is your pineal gland. It is the positive contact point, whereas the pituitary gland is the negative contact point or the terminal. Figure 4 shows the cerebellum, and which is the main organ of the subconscious mind. Notice how the small arrows indicating the vitrons flow upwards and across the pineal gland, then into the picture screens, thereby energizing into it. Some of the tiny vitrons that flow into the pituitary gland are the ego or the self. The individual resides. The self then interprets the mental images created by the vitrons and specific visual messages, complete with color, sound, and other sensory stimuli. Notice how the vitrons follow a path into the mental TV set through the cerebellum, subconscious, and complete a circuit by flowing out through the cord of the cerebrum, or the conscious mind. Venusians have discovered that the more vitrons one is able to store up, all of it accumulate within the cerebellum or the subconscious organ, the brain is easier one that can transmit through the images through space, the telethought, which requires much fewer vitrons than does mintavision. I shall now give you 5 simple rules that will aid into you into perfecting into yourself the mentality so that you will be able to receive further communications from your telepathically with even a great ease of effectiveness. This is what I hit when I was doing meditation. That little click remote of screens. Everybody's thoughts are stored in a time vacuum, and you float through the time vacuum, and you could visually see anybody's experience you want in the world by selecting the screen and what you pass by. And time isn't time, it's just a vacuum of memories. And the memories are endless. The vacuum, it went on forever until I like snapped out of the meditation. I was like, yo, whoa, what? So imagine Click Remote, the movie Click, but now imagine not only your thoughts, but everyone's thoughts stored in one tube of consciousness that we're all interconnected on. And you could visually see anyone's thoughts in this tube, and you could select. And it's the most wild state of meditation I've ever reached. The most important step is to learn consciously and to relax so that your conscious mind does not hinder nor interrupt the process of attunement. 10 or 15 minutes before attempting to send or receive telepathically and to assume a position of physical relaxation. In a comfortable chair, you shall be in a secluded place where you are not likely to be disturbed. You may then close your eyes and breathe deeply and exhale slowly until a peaceful, soothing state is experienced. I had to do this at like 3 in the morning. Do not, however, allow yourself to go to sleep. Oopsie. You want to be near into the sleep state, but consciously aware. Midway between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is the balance in between the neural zone, and wherein you are consciously in harmony and with the activities of your subconscious. This area is the neutral zone in which conscious and subconscious minds acting together is known as the subliminal state. This must be never confused with the unconscious state, nor with the trance state. It is more like a deep revere in wherein your conscious mind is not unconscious, but it is concentrated. And upon the disclosures being made as it was into the subconscious mind, the oblivious, at least partial, to its immediate surroundings in the subliminal state, your conscious mind may enter into become attuned with the Vedic vibrations, which in the mind into another person's on earth or into another planet, thus acquiring knowledge from the subconscious mind or the intellect that individually practiced then within, entering the subliminal state. After entering the subliminal state and to maintain it through the process of telepathic communication, your lapis linguis or your teleth physic gem should be held in your hand as an aid in stepping up the psychic attunement, and from your mind and body, it will also serve in you to focalize the intensity and to intensify the higher thought vibrations you are seeking to contact. And this will keep your conscious mind from descending below into the subliminal state, into the trance or the somnambulant state, in which in time none of these physical aids will be necessary either. In due time, to enter into saying to sustain the desired state for your mind will grow. This is wild that I experienced it. Now I'm reading it on paper. More skilled in a telepathic work through daily and to be the performance of teleshot is a mastered science to men and women in Venus, and it is still a new and strange to earthlings. Therefore, practicing is most essential unto you. Arrange at definite times and to send and receive the telepathic message from among one another and close friends who are sympathetic and for understanding. And that's why in all of these ancient places, people see these antennas. These antennas were to talk to one another. And the persons in who you are close with and to be in an affection and who you like to cooperate with you. You are best to be carefully who you talk to about these matters. Although the faculty of teleshot is now into gaining the recognition by your scientists of Earth, there are still many people who scoff at it through ignorance, the ridicule might lower your self-confidence, so it's wisest to go about these vital practices as quietly and as carefully as you can. As to the best hours for practicing teleshot, 3 a.m. The quiet hours of the night are just after daybreak are best. People are most relaxed at these hours, hence are most impressionable telepathically. So I'm going to say between 1 and 3. To transmit your mental states and messages to another, it is essential first to fix your conscious mind earnestly upon the particular person, either upon the Earth or Venus, within whom the correspondence is desired. Also, try to mentally see or visualize him in his usual environment. And this is what I was talking about, Jumper. If you have a picture of any one thing, when you go into meditation, you can now jump to the image in your mind and experience that image in the time it was taken. I couldn't explain it, but now having this right here, the fact that we already experienced it, now we're reading it. The secret here is to form of your mind a large hollow tube, boy, I swear it, or tunnel, and picture the other person as appearing as the far end of the tube while you are at this end. Now formulate your thoughts with as much precision and definiteness as possible. It will help you at first if you will write down a simple message clearly and have it in sight and to refer to it. The person you are sending your thoughts to should be used freely and to attract his attention. Immediately after his attention has been attracted and mental attunement achieved, you will at once recognize the attunement. By a peculiar mental reaction, you will feel connected mentally. It sometimes happens that a vivid mental picture of the person is seen at the time of his voice is being heard distinctly. These are real phenomena. The mental senses become more pronounced as you awaken through these long dormant faculties. As you sit facing another person, focus your attention as above and between his eyes. His receiver or his pituitary gland is located at that point. Assume a positive affirmative state and of the mind to speak in the words you wish to hear. Visualize each word as it's traveling from your own transmitter, the pineal, down to the hollow tube, the receiver. Emotionally, each word by seeing it aflame with the blue fire. As it leaves your mind, the more vivid you make your message, the more vital it will be. I was trying to tell everybody there's like a blue and red fire that you see once you hit this level of meditation that will, wow. You can't describe it. So people just have to learn to meditate to the best of their ability. To receive telepathically the communications in which you are to drop the positive and directing attitude which is required for thought transmission and should instead adopt a passive and receptive state in which the subliminal mind acutely is sensitive. And to this condition, not only will you clairaudience sense of hearing, the mental radio, begin to function more clearly and distinctively, but frequently into the clairvoyant sense of inner sight, mental TV, will momentarily become activated into you, causing in you to see an actual physical image of the person you are communicating with. It is a good idea to jot down all your words, sentences, and messages that come to you in this private notebook as soon as you receive them. Do this as soon as you return from the subliminal mind into the fully conscious state of awareness. That's how I was able to get ancient hieroglyphs in my dream state, and I wrote them down and they had a meaning to them. And now I bid to you these 5 rules into practice at once, and so during the next week you will have prepared yourself mentally and to sustain a longer conversation by telethought with me. Once a week at this location where you are now, and from the same hour, I shall then unfold to you many more fascinating secrets of our universal science. Till then, Michael, may life, love, and light be with you. Oh, oh, oh. Oh. Special note. The theme of the first lesson suggests that the following is important questions. What are the 2 reasons Lazara wished to contact Michael and to state briefly? Why do you think vocal speech between human beings is considered a backward step by the Venusians? Which of the 2 primal forces, electricity or viticity, is the superior force? Which primal force is used to transmit thoughts? Why does Mother Nature equip every human being with this at the birth being built in with a mental television set. This is why when I was a kid, I would explain to people stuff they could not comprehend. They thought, oh, he's just a kid. And I was like, no, dude, listen to me. And then nobody would listen. What is the name given into the neutral zone midway and through the conscious mind and the subconscious mind? We are on lesson 2, the cosmic plane revealed. I did not hear from Lon Zara and again until the full week had elapsed. However, I had made use of every chance I could get during this time to practice the 5 rules of mental communication. According to the instructions given to me, all my close friends were enlisted to aid me in various experiments as sending and receiving thought through vibrations. Use of telelith, the physic gem, helped us to transmit stronger vibrations. This is that little orb that you see all the ancient girls holding in their hands. People just say that they're little crystal balls. No, they're not just little crystal balls. But you keep telling everybody that. And also to pick up the vibrations more quickly. We made the whole thing as much of a game as possible. I believe this feeling of enjoyment increased in our sense of confidence. And the satisfaction all of us had noted a definite warning. I rested and conserved my mental energy for the next interplanetary conversation with my Venusian teacher later in the evening. There were so many important questions to ask him about, and so as long as to hide the mysteries which I had to understand. Did the wise beings of Venus really know the answers to life's puzzles? Did they discover the keys to knowledge which have long been veiled and from the earthlings? Could this knowledge, if they cared to reveal it, could it be the use by men and women on earth, and to transform themselves and thereby assist into the higher evolution of the race? Of one of the things I was certain, Lon Zara was no ordinary being. A vast intelligence of an extremely high order was his direct upon any subject, either mundane or super mundane in the nature. I determined that if a man be permitted by the higher powers to learn all the answers, surely Lon Zara, with his advanced mental powers, would have gained a knowledge of the cosmic plan of the universe. How would surely to know that mankind is embodied with the physical form of various planets? And what was the purpose of man, what it was really that was to be going on and about most important? How to successfully arrive there? Thinking along this line, I walked over to my Liberty bookcase and I had passed down and idly over the many esoteric volumes I have collected over the years. And my intention was not to do any heavy reading, but merely to browse through the books in hopes of uncovering something of especially inspirational value and to put me in a proper mental vibration for the evening telepathic visit with Lon Zara. Strangely enough, none of these books held much an appeal to me. For the first time in a long while, I decided to replace the books in the case and go for a long walk. Then I had noticed an object on the floor. It was a sheet of paper, quite yellow of an age. Oddly, I had noticed it before. It must have fallen out of one of the old books I purchased recently at one of the occult bookstores in town. Quickly, I reached down, picked up the sheet of paper, and was pleased to discover that it contained a typewritten poem entitled, Life's Purpose. Forth from planet unto planet you have gone and you will go. Space is vast, but was a must span it, for life's purpose is to know. Earth retains you but a minute, makes the best of what lies in it. Light in the pathways where you are, there is nothing worth the doing. This will leave regret or ruin, as you speed from star to star. You are part of the beginning, you are a parcel of today. When he set his worlds to spinning, you were flung upon your way. When this system falls to pieces, when this pulsing epoch ceases, this becomes the was. You will live, you will enter in the great creative center and all the enduring cause. At the beginning of the page that I was reading, the poem had been dictated from the other side of life by the wonderful and loving soul of Ella Wheeler Wilcox. And by taking down Bessie Warren in college in Illinois, the more I read the poem over, the more it was revealed unto me. Here was a tremendous spiritual revelation of a man's cosmic journey that's stating it clearly that you and I and all mankind have gone forth and from planet into planet in this solar system. So far on our journey, we have reached planet Earth, but where did we start from? And how do we find our way to this particular world? What planet do we go to next? How can we be sure of getting there on time, as it were? These were some of the vital questions that immediately flashed into my mind as I pondered over the poem, trusting that my cosmic teacher, Lonzara, would shed a new light into these most important matters. At our next appointment, I glanced at my watch from time, 5:45, time to be on my way. I drove to the same location near Mount Calvary Retreat into a house where Lonzara had previously contacted me by mental telepathy. It was quiet and peaceful as ever, and not disturbing of the element anywhere in the vicinity. Wonderful. 10 brief minutes to relax into myself. Once again, would I have the greatest joy of conversing with a living, thinking, highly intelligent human being who is millions of miles in the distance. I look forward to this next communication with Lonzara, and for a good reason. He radiated with such positivity, uplifting spirit of love. It was like a healing treatment, just as to be in the presence of his vibrations. Few earthlings have ever developed love to this positive degree, and those who have truly discovered and demonstrated these powers of the heart as spiritual force in man are the path into the immortal heights. Lonzara signal came softly but with a powerful insistence. The same exquisite chord into the key of D, it flooded in through my being like sunlight through an open doorway. "Good evening, Michael," came the clear, velvet, soft voice from the Venetian teacher. "It was good to be with you again mentally, even though you are separated physically by a great spatial gulf in between your planet and Venus. However, if you remain steadfast and devoted into your attention to the instructions that I shall be giving you from now on, you shall be taught how to overcome the seeming barrier of space and within several ways. I perceive that the light within your mental television is set. It is glowing brighter into tonight. That is the indication of progress, showing that your brain is now magnetized and utilizing more vitrons more formally. This progress will continue until the time, the very near future, when you will be able to see clearly at the distance. You will have your clairvoyant powers under full voluntary control at all times. And until that stage of development is reaching by you, I shall assist from time to time into you by sending larger supply of vitrons from my brain into yours. Thank you kindly, my wondrous friend." I replied within a deep feeling into appreciation. "Already, you have helped me to unfold telepathic powers by extraordinary teachings and example, and I am very indeed grateful. You have the most effective way of teaching, simply, practical, and to the point, yet presented always with an understanding and love, so that I feel imbued with the confidence and the courage and the strength and to master even greater secrets of the universe." I was about to mention the poem I had found, but did not have to. Lonzara had already read my mind. He spoke quietly. "That poem, Life's Purpose, which you found today, under rather mysterious circumstances, it was directed, and to you for special reason by the Lord of Thinkers of Venus. It was the most effective means by stimulating your mind in regard to the cosmic plan. It raised your question in your mind, which must be answered in the order you and your loyal friends may enter into a new state of consciousness and an amplifier state of being. Then you shall be able to grasp the secret principles of life, love, and light, whereby all former limitations will be speedily passed away as if your nerves never existed, and you will know at last something of your glorious destiny." As Lonzara said these words, I had suddenly felt a tremendous wave of vitron surge into my body, and through my brain the sensation of powers was dramatic, intense, yet at the same time I was aware of an exceedingly blissful, peaceful emotion that was harmonious and delightful, my own mental TV set. It had been energized into the activity and by the amazement, mental force of being 1 in 26 million miles away. Again, another picture flashed into focus before my mental vision. This new diagram you have on your mental screen is a representation of the great solar system in which you and I are now citizens, Lonzara explained. And on this diagram, number 2, on page 19, we are on Venus. We have learned the things about this solar system, its planets, and the inhabitants that may well seem to be unbelievable unto you. Nevertheless, what I'm about to reveal to you is true in principle. The story we have to tell began eons ago. You are not asked to believe, only to try to understand. This is the important thing. And in order that you may easily comprehend, this is a great story I shall tell you about yourself, where you first began on your cosmic journey and how you reached planet Earth, and where you are now living as I unfold this story gradually to you, and you will perceive the why of human life, the definite pattern of your own life. If you will, now follow the diagram closely, my Venian master said, and proceed with me planet by planet, and as I outline, we shall make a mental tour of our solar system. And as we progress with this story, please feel free to ask me any questions that may come in of your mind with the subject so vast as this. I am sure you will have many good questions. I may not have time to answer all of your questions in full detail, for as you can realize, we have much space to span during this brief lesson. Certain details can be added into your mind later on after you had learned the main points. Seeing what I was eager to begin the traversing of the solar system with him mentally, Lanzar began his story. Eons ago, long before our solar system was born, the Supreme Mind, our Father God, who dwells upon the Supreme Sun in an A in diagram, at the center of the universe, decided to manifest himself in many lives on levels, and within his universe, one of these being to manifestations, was in the form of the living beings, a higher form of which was the human being or man. And this is where you're going to have the Egyptians, they prayed to Atum. Atum is going to be the sun, Adam and Eve. And man, if I go into too much detail there, it might just be too much. So let me just continue. This is wild to see in a book. It's saying the Supreme Sun is A, our Sun is B, the throne, and that 1 through 3, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus is the elemental life of evolution. Then you got 4 through 10 being all different parts. There's going to be the 7 spirits or the sacred planets before the throne, which is going to be Saturn, life, etheric, Jupiter, beauty, body, Mars, power, physical, Earth, light, body, Venus, love, solar, Mercury, joy, body, Vulcan, peace, ascension. Dotted lines indicate the human soul progression and from planet 1 into the sun. And it has a bunch of keynotes. And it's how everything's interconnected. And it's a literal star connecting everything. And the star is bound by the sun, and it looks like a big atom. Let me just show you. Wowza. Man, however, this includes both sexes, could not be so involved suddenly and without some grand pattern that would assure his development in a definite and positive manner. In order to provide a perfect pattern for man, the Supreme Mind, first and to be created a great planetary system, we call it a solar system. Out of the cosmic dust, electrons in space, he called this creation the grand man. It is actually the original pattern and for the development of our own physical human bodies, because we're star seeds, born by a star. We are a star. The universe is a star. Stars within a star, the cosmos. My goodness. Solar system. Your soul in a system. Bro, it's too literal. And the ancient laws tell us all above, so below. We see now that this law applies hereunto for the solar system or the grand man that contains 7 great planetary powers. Thus, it is called the macrocosmos, or large universe, in which the case of man that we find that to the qualities built into the 7 planets, of course, this is the true miniature scale, so that man is considered and to be the microcosmos, or the small universe, and with all access into all 7 of the planets of the cosmic qualities represented by the 7 sacred planets of the ancients. The 7 cosmic qualities. The Master, I said, would you list those 7 cosmic qualities so I may remember them? The qualities are listed in the diagram. Lonzara, you replied, but it will do unto no more harm and to impress them upon your mind by repeating them here. They are 1, life, 2, beauty, 3, power, 4, light, 5, love, 6, the joy of the final 7th quality, which is 7, peace. Then I will conclude man is, in reality, a 7-fold being, living in a 7-fold planetary system, and for what the purpose of unfolding each of the 7 cosmic qualities is. 2D, 3D, 1D, 7D. Yes, answered the Venetian, and these are qualities of the divine spark or spirit that is in you. Your great cosmic journey from planet to planet gives you an opportunity to build all 7 spiritual qualities in your soul. Calling my attention once more to the Supreme Son, A, as shown in the diagram, he had continued. Your cosmic journey began so originally at A, and where you were sent forth on the outgoing life wave as a spiritual spark or virgin spirit. By this term, the virgin spirit is meant simply, you did not as yet into any consciousness of the matter, in fact, that you were then in a state of dreamless sleep, having no self-conscious or awareness of any kind, to gain the state of waking consciousness so that you could consciously realize that the virtues of all the 7 cosmic qualities and learn to embody them in soul and in the physical body, which was the reason for your journey. The awakening of the soul within oneself is supremely important. On the outgoing life wave, you together with several billion others, virgin spirits, quickly reaching a lesser sun of the solar system B, as you will notice by observing the key to the diagram, page 19, our sun is referred to as the throne. The 7 sun planets, indicating that with the great tent in the diagram, are called the 7 spirits before the throne. These 7 planets are Vulcan, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Why are the planets 1, 2, and 3, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, not included with the other 7, I asked. These 3 planets are to serve to evolve life, and 3 elements are primary stages only. Lazare explained, the self-consciousness or the higher stages of human evolution take place in planets 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And when the solar logos, our Lord of our lesser sun, relating to the outgoing life that it was a wave of the planet 1, your life and the matter began, in which, however, it was very simple form of life for you were not ready to build a complex body and watch into function. In due time, your spirit progressed into planet 2, Neptune, where you learned to build a new life in the form better than the other one you had on planet 1. It was not a complex human form, but you were gaining valuable, basic training, and that you will soon be fully prepared to build your own human etheric body on planet 3. Uranus, you successfully completed your evolution and in elementary life forms were now to be ready for the advancement too beautifully in a radiant Saturn, which is planet 4. Then I said, and according to the cosmic plan, we would find no human beings living on Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. There are no people from your particular life wave in human form on those 3 planets, replied the Venetian. You must realize, however, that a great number of different life waves have been sent out and from the Supreme Sun, and it is true that those beings will advance into the life wave, are able to travel into any planet in our solar system if they so wish. The wise ones do not choose to remain on such planets for the simple reason that human life is vastly superior and infinitely more desirable on the more advanced worlds. How is such an interplanetary travel accomplished? I inquired. This must be an advanced human being use a spaceship of some kind in order to transport his physical body to another planet. Fortunately for man, the sphere of your mind in each individual reaches the stars and beyond. It reaches as far as his or her power of perception reaches. We on planet Venus, for example, by the exercise of our clairvoyant and clairaudient powers that may by any moment what is going on in another world, such as Earth, and if we desire into personal contact with it, we leave our physical forms on Venus and go out into the etheric bodies. If we desire to take our physical forms with us into our planet or into another, the third method of travel is employed. That is space travel by flying discs or other kind of spacecraft. Often, however, hover in a disc near the Earth. We descend into unseen etheric forms. We visit whomsoever we want, witness everything without our presence being perceived. We visit the statesmanship and the ministry of the philosophers and writers into our views of our thoughts, into the minds of which are useful. They do not know whence those thoughts come. Is their just fixed opinions, prejudices, and are very strong that they may reject our thoughts. But if they are reasonable people and to know how to discriminate, they will follow the silent advice and from the prophet by it. And many problems of earth that have been solved into this manner and are near into the future of earth, many more will be solved. It is true that Lanzara continued that by setting a great amount of willpower in motion, we might handle mankind as if they were merely automatons, and that we could cause them to do whatever we please. While they would still imagine that they were following their own inclinations, but to do so would be against the rules of our planets and against the great laws, for the latter decides that each man shall be the creator of his own karma or destiny. We are permitted to advise these people and to give instructions as we are doing now, but are not and be permitted into the interface with their freedom. Lanzara again called into my attention the diagram. When you, as a progressive spirit, advance into the planet Saturn with others, your same life wave, you begin to build yourself a new kind of highly complex forms of body. It was an etheric astral body of human beings. This was known as your soul body. By the time you have awakened from your dreamless sleep state, you began to dream and to picture vividly the physical life you longed to become a part of in order and to complete your cosmic journey. Learn the lessons of all other planets. After a long time on planet 4, you traveled to your astral body onto planet 5, Jupiter, on the largest, most electrified planet in our solar system. Except for the body itself, that you be brought into the development of your soul body and to the most perfect conditions for entering into the next necessary condition of life, namely the self-conscious awareness in a planet-dense physical body. This great event was to occur to you in a planet 6, what you will see, the world you call Mars. When you awoke from the first time on Mars in a physical body, the halfway point in your cosmic journey had been reached. The planet Mars gave you the first experience of a human physical body, and the body you built for yourself was quite strong and vigorous. Since the predominating qualities of Mars is power, primarily the physical type, the people of Mars are physically very strong. They are great builders and excel in engineering. Conditions on Mars are nearly identical with those on Earth. They are equally favorable as for the material human life, and all other fertile plains in the valleys of Mars are highly cultivated and thickly populated. It is a vast system of ocean, lands, and of great cities within the commerce and all human pursuits, occupations, and which are commonly to Earth that prevail also upon Mars. I told somebody this one day. I was like, doesn't the sky look like an ocean? And they geeked out. And I was like, never mind. I take that back. But clouds are cool, huh? But human life on Mars has little or no spiritual equality into it. For this reason, neither you nor your friends would very wish to become part of the Martian life again. It would be very much like going back and to see the place where you lived when you were a child. It is never quite the same because you are not quite the same individual. You are evolved, grown up out of it into that old life. And true, it was wonderful, a stepping stone to assist you in reaching the place where you are to this day. But the purpose behind it all was to enable you to go onward, upward, and to reach yet higher places tomorrow. Under the natural laws which pertain into the solar system, the planet Mars is the kindergarten of human thought and knowledge. The planet at Earth is the physical heaven of Mars. And the next advancement were the sphere of life, and although Earth itself, but a primary grade in the great university, and for human education, the planet Venus is the physical heaven of Earth and of the next higher succeeding grade in your human advancement and progress. On the Earth, planet 7, you first began the true awakening from your soul sleep by acquiring more light or knowledge about the others, and most important to the side of your nature, the spirit of the usual self. Of course, the vast majority of the earthlings, those of the mass-minded and who are to come into the earth, and for the very first time, through a process called reincarnation from Mars, they are traveling through the path of pursuit. This means that they are exceedingly busy in pursuing the external knowledge that is gained by all kinds of stimulation of the five physical senses. This gives them the knowledge of the outer things. And on the other path, I inquired eagerly, the path of return, who are traveling this path and to what purpose? A new age individuals of all ages and all walks of life who are now actively seeking to know themselves and their real relation to cosmic law, and who are to come into realize that the attainment of wisdom is above mere getting, are the ones on the path of return. I don't know why I steered the spaceship just now. There are the old souls who have gone through many cycles of rebirth on Mars, then graduating from Mars into Earth and having a reincarnation into a new physical body on Earth, sufficient in the number of times that have gained a great wealth of experience in physical life. Gradually, they have converted that experience into wisdom. Hence, the new planets they will advance to on their cosmic journey is Venus, planet 8. The predominatory influence you will feel is the vibration of love. Not the love that is known on Mars, nor even upon the earth, but a spiritual force that will lift you to such a new and high level of consciousness as you are to enable and to reach your final goal much more swiftly. That goal, Lanzar said, is an advanced planet by the planet and from Venus into Mercury, planet 9, then the Vulcan into planet 10, and thence to planet B, where you shall live, and upon the sun itself. Yes, our sun is a college in the university of the solar system. They have no dense physical bodies, but possess a body constructed of what we called permanent atoms. From these special atoms being built a solar body, capable of withstanding the light vibrations thousands of times stronger than you will see by the diagram of humanity, generally begins into being the solar body. During the incarnation on Venus, through some advanced earthlings have begun into the task, while on the earth, Sanat Kumara and several others, great lords of Venus, completed their solar bodies, and during their life on Venus, and by doing so they become a radiant shining beings of mighty power. This took place millions of years ago. This is the school I was talking about. And the real reason why our planet is called the home of the gods. More commonly, an individual begins his solar body on Venus, continues the good work on Mornery, and finally perfects the solar body during his life on Vulcan. Then the ascension is made in the glorious solar body to a man's home on the sun. Later on, my Venusian master concludes, you shall learn why and how life and the individualized solar body is accomplished and possible, by which the building of your solar body or golden wedding garment is essential and for your higher progress. In this and other solar systems, now beloved brother, good night. Being at the same place tomorrow evening at 6:30 o'clock, and for the furthest instructions and a pleasant surprise, tell my blessings be with you, and may you unfold in true wisdom. Oh, 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 oh. 9 O's. 369. Commit to the memory of the diagram on page 19, and from memory, draw a grand man. B, sure to show the name of the number of each of the 7 sacred planets, 4 through 10, and according to man's progression. Chosen by the wise ones. Lesson 3. It was late in the afternoon. The sun, in a final burst of glorious orange color, was about to disappear once again in behind the Santa Barbara hills. I looked longingly at the brilliant orb, as if seeing it for the first time. Was the sun intended by our loving Creator to serve merely as a heating stove for all the little Earth and its companion planets? Was it just a gigantic hydrogen furnace, slowly consuming itself as it burns its supply of hydrogen fuel? Or could it truly be that the sun is a great shining world made brilliant not by flaming hydrogen gases, but rather by its own electromagnetic radiance, plasma? My Venusian teacher stated that the sun of our solar system is inhabited by wondrous, glorified human beings, the graduates of this planetary system, which have been mentioned something of the solar body, that which is being built of a more permanent electronic substance than into our dense physical bodies were made of, and had appointed into the solar body was being built by each of us gradually over a period of several interplanetary incarnations. Also, into that was the radiant of the light body that sustained the most intense solar light vibrations produced by the great shining world, the sun. The life of Venus then was one mighty step into being nearer into our eventual home, the sun, as it would begin to seem that after we have perfected ourselves so as to take place amongst the sun people, and the greater goal would appear originally that all humanity came from a great celestial sun, our supreme sun, that is the greatest, most splendid world of all. It is located at the very center or the hub of the universe of our galaxy. And as it slowly revolves, it causes every sun and through being to recall as and I and all beings started our great cosmic journeys from one center were into the lesser sun of this solar system for our basic training in the matter. Thus the sun I had watched dropped it gently behind the horizon. It was a sense more like my home from my faraway home away from home, while beyond this sun, at an almost incredible distance. It's true, into the supreme sun. I could see then that the path of return really meant returning the wisdom and glory to the most magnificent of all the worlds, the hub of our galaxy. Once again, I got into my car and I drove up the winding mountain leading into that peaceful spot where Lonzara and I had communicated telepathically with each other. The appointed time and for place was the mental rendezvous, and to that was only minutes away. I was filled with the eager anticipation and through of the new wonders that my amazing friend would surely reveal. Within the next 2 hours, indeed, my soul was already thrilled into see its very depths by the marvels I had experienced, and from the first moment the Venetian master made known into his presence me via telethought. Much greater things, however, were in store for me at this evening, and the things that a few scant hours ago could have seemed above all reason. I turned my car into a small clearing where I usually parked that car near the summit of the mountain, got out, sat down on the stone ledge overlooking the valley. Darkness was beginning to settle over the countryside. The sky sparkled with a few stars. I could see the planet Venus was plainly of all the night, and of a warm, pleasant, and friendly. I had reached in my pocket and found the telolith stone. Man, I want one. So, and to being so helpful to me in my telepathic test, holding the telolith in my right hand in my sight again, and sought into the planet Venus. It was at that moment that I had saw the strange phenomenon, the star that wasn't. And from my position on the high ledge and of the mountain, I could observe what seemed to be a star in the sky slightly below and to the left of Venus. I think what it means is like when you hold something, they were talking about this in like the basic forms of books. When you hold something, that when you're in a meditative state and you start to get the outer body experience, that it's your way of like snapping back and forth between the two and controlling the channels you switch to. And then like if you were to fall asleep, you would go into the spirit realm, which is a whole nother planet all in itself, and that you would experience something worth jotting down, and that you can now link your different conscious states between planets onto a piece of paper and lead so many people to understand the intensity of understanding of the self. Like any other star, this one appeared into hang motionless in the heavens, yet it is deferred, and from the others, in one usual respect, it blinks slowly, methodically, and of a brilliance changing hues of colors, red, orange, green, and blue. I watched this strange star in fascination. The musical signal from Lanzara suddenly flooded into my awareness. Michael, came that marvelous voice. Greetings to you and from all of us who have watched your progress on earth. At this moment, I am closer to you than you realize, although I am certain you would have guessed the truth for yourself. Had I not communicated with you now that unusual star you are observing is not a star but a space disk and is from Venus. I am aboard that disk now and communicating with you mentally and from the position in space approximately 30 miles above Earth. But I now said with the strangest sensation welling up into my throat, only lasting until the evening, we're on planet Venus. That's 26 million miles away from our Earth. I don't see how such a distance can be navigated in one day. This was accomplished, beloved brother, by traveling in space in a disk at a velocity that would almost be considered impossible by most scientific minds on Earth. Oh, I freaking knew it, dude. We flashed into the vast gulf of interstellar space and speed of approaching into the light itself, and to us into the time, having ceased to be factors of our overly important significance, and from such velocities that we have collapsed time and space, and to the point where they remain only pleasant into the delightful challenges into us. This time is continued into the Space Master, for to make ourselves known and to more sincere into the individuals on your planet. We have found only a mere handful of earthlings who are prepared to welcome us with open hearts and minds, but we are grateful for those few. You, Michael, are one of the several other chosen ones, whom we shall visit and instruct before the night is over. Why are we and to be to serve a very important purpose in the cosmic purpose, which is and has to do with the spiritual aligning of Earthmen into the plan of the Creator. We come to assist those who are ready and to make the next higher step upward into soul evolution. This is the reason from our visits to Earth and to save your world from the elements that would destroy it through the forces of negative and to bring the certain individuals the pattern whereby a better world can and shall still be built. The earth is undergoing a great awakening, Lanzara said, and for the call that has gone out from the higher realms for more enlightenment on planet, and this might be the overseers of this mighty movement and to be included into the lords of Venus, Mercury, and Vulcan, which are headed by our brothers and who know you to see which are headed by our brother, who is known to you as Jesus. All who hear the call and respond to it are tested by us first. Those who wish to serve us, just to meet the one requirement, they must be selfless in service to the wise ones. This is possible only if one has love and compassion for the divine life that dwells within humanity. Step back to the edge, clearing, my brother. The depth sudden command of our space disk is about to descend near you. Move back quickly. Obeying the command at once, I stepped back and away from the central clearing as fast as I could, and with an unbelievable speed and absolute silence, the star became into ever-increasing the body, the whitish blue light as it flashed towards me. It grew largely by the second, glowing intermittently with the several different colors. I could see it was circular in shape with the outer section spinning rapidly. That light with the saucer of the disc was intensively brilliant, but it appeared to me to be more of a phosphorescent than a fury. In the diameter, now the disc must have been 25 feet across, and for the moment it hovered above the ground of the center clearing, then to settle almost into the ground. There, a few feet above the earth, it hung motionless. A gentle sound was now audible, and like the quiet humming of bees. Then the disk floated into the ground, all the bright glowing light disappeared. In a state akin to shock, I watched the door into the side of the space disk open silently. In front of me, a man, tall and commanding stature, stepped out of the amazing craft. He was clad in one-piece uniform, which appeared to have been made of some amazing, flexible, pressure-resistant material. On seeing me, the spaceman had lifted up his right hand in the universal gesture of friendship, and moving into my direction. "Greetings, dear friend," he said. He spoke into the words. I recognized instantly the mellow tones of Lanzara's voice. My heart leaped with such sudden joy, and I was left almost breathless as he drew near. I could see his face, and for the first time it was the face of an extraordinarily intelligent human being, radiating from a masculine strength and decisiveness, but also in conveying into the inner quality of peace and kindliness, and to the compassion I shall never forget. His forehead was high and full, and he had an abundance of gold bronze hair, and which was parted in the middle. The color of his skin was somewhat unusual. It was of a golden tan, radiant hue, denoting an individual in a perfect health. The Venetian adept to look directly at me. He had very large, clear, blue eyes, which shone too like precious jewels with a great depth in them. I felt as if I was looking into a deep ocean that one could see the whole universe. Divine strength, heavenly wisdom radiating from those wondrous eyes. His expression was beyond my dream. Who knows how many thousands of years I had waited for this moment. Yet it seemed to me that I had felt this same dynamic presence before in our first telepathic contact. Yet to my dear friend, said into the master teacher from Venus, answering into my unspoken thought, I have often been in your presence and stood by your side. Although you did not see me, I have directed the flow of ideas which streamed into your brain while you were elaborated with them into being down into your writings and special monographs. Moreover, into this place often that you be visited, and by while your physical body was sleeping, you have conversed with me, with other Venetians, and to but your soul body returned to its house of flesh. It could not impress the memory of those meetings upon your conscious brain centers. Therefore, you could remember none of your transcendental space travels when you awoke. The memory of the animal form retains only to the impressions made upon it by the avenues, and of the five physical senses, the memory of the soul awakens when we are in the spiritual state. I told Lanzara that I had considered unto this day the happiest one of my life, and only regretting that I could not be ready, was not yet worthy and to remain in the society of beings so far exalted above my own state. There are many reasons why it was being difficult and for us to know our own rating in spiritual evolution. It is true, Lanzara said, that if you are not yet ready to become an active citizen of Venus for your special work on Earth, it is by no means completed. You shall, however, be permitted to look in on our planet by mental television and thereby gain a first-hand knowledge of our advanced way of life. This power and others that we shall give you are spiritual in nature and must never be misused. Unless they are to use and to serve the great purpose, they could prove harmful to you and the other race. Remember always that the soul power is a divine privilege, and while the lords of Venus can bestow power upon the earthlings, that power can also be turned on and off at the discretion of the wise ones. As the Venetian said, this is his mild and benevolent look, and seemed to penetrate my whole being and to read my innermost thoughts. Then he smiled, closing his eyes momentarily, and to my amusement, to the delight of another human being, stepped out of the space disk and came over into whereas we were talking. I could see by the light diffused and through the one being opened the door of the disk. It was a woman of an unusual beauty. She was into wore of the same kind of uniform, the indigo blue in color, with the iridescence of the quality in it, and her movements were graceful dignified and yet full of youthful energy as she had approached. Like Lanzara, the space woman's skin was sun bronzed and healthy looking. She too was fair haired with full height and a forehead. Her eyes were a rich blue violet color in which had a few tiny flecks of gold and seemed to sparkle. Her features were beautifully proportioned, and her entire figure rather tall and slim. Around her waist she had wore a golden belt, most of an unusual design. Her feet were clad in shoes made of a soft golden mesh material of extreme pliability. Greetings from us, both Michael, she said sweetly in a bell-like tones. I am Shalana of Venus. We love you and the people of Earth as we do our own glorious world, but we are saddened to behold the inharmony of your planet. It is for this very reason that we come into you to visit, and many others of the earth who will listen into our voice. We bring you to a superlative science of life, love, light, and from Venus, which we can create a positive new earth for you. Just as it has brought peace, love, and abundance to Venus, our mission to Earth is to find souls who will assist us in teaching the science. To men, women, and children everywhere on your globe, we are looking for those who will help fulfill that purpose. As you know, we are not aliens, but your elder brothers and sisters who have trodden through the same path as you are now to tread. Higher evolution is your next step, and we are here to guide those of you who have prepared themselves through discipline and meditation. By using these three primary principles of life, love and light, and harmoniously, you shall establish a positive world. Bro, this is what I've been trying to scream from the top of my lungs. It was intended to inspire and to hear Shalana speaking these words of encouragement, as I had once perceived that she was not only a beautiful but highly intelligent as well. Many of us earthlings have long desired such a positive world as admitted, but so far we have not discovered the right formula. The destructive way comes easier to some of us. As a bitter result of our earth reaps fear, hatred, and disease and war. Yet always we have believed until the universal formula exists in the cosmos whereby humanity here can live in mutual respect and harmony. Shalana, Lanzara did not speak. They did not need to, for their thoughts and subtly transformed my whole being filled within me with hitherto an unknown feeling of joy, beauty, and serenity. I knew then that such a formula one does indeed exist and is into use until now to all the advanced planets. I felt that love, properly understood, was a great key in love into its higher aspect that is not spoken. It comes like a wonderful comforter and to serve the innermost needs of all the living souls. While I stood there profoundly and affected by the positive and uplifting soul vibrations of these two noble beings, I noticed with a great interest into the triangular visitors wore on the breast of their uniform. The strange emblem glowed softly with a light into its own, contained three intermeshed circles of blue, yellow, and red colors. I could see several other symbols within the triangle. This insignia, said Lanzara, noting my interest, is worn by all Venusians who by her study and application qualified themselves and to teach the secret science. The symbols contained within this white triangle contain the answers into Earth, the man's greatest problems, as you will come to understand later. At this moment, I call your attention to the three circles. Each circle is imbued with one of the three primary colors, blue, yellow, and red. These colors signify the three primary principles by which means the whole celestial universe is operated. Blue denotes the principle of life, our universal, God's will. Red denotes the principle of love, our mutual attraction. Yellow signifies the principle of light, intelligent reason, and to keep these three principles in the mind as we progress, for they are the important keys into our superior powers. That's the three lights that you see focused in your meditative state. They absolutely start the shaping of the internal television before you're able to view it. You have to watch them come to life in your mind. And as they come to life in your mind, you're just going to be at awe of it's breathtaking. And then you get to the TV set and you're like, am I here? Is this real? Is this like, has this always been here? And then as you're going down the tube, you're looking left, you're looking right, you're seeing everyone's memories playing out, like the click remote. But the click remote, it shows only his memories. In this tube, you see everybody's memories. It has to be over terabytes worth of memory. You just go down this tube until, I'm pretty sure something in the meditative state is what is going to select the path you flash into. And it's breathtaking, to say the very least. I have to give it a 10 out of 10 experience. And that's why I was like saying that TV's washed. TV's a waste of time when you understand that there's an internal TV. The internal TV, boy, I swear it. Keep these important principles in mind in progressing, that they are important keys into our superior powers. By interblending of the balancing of the three primary colors are principles, four other secondary colors are a result. As you had noticed, the four new colors are green, orange, purple, and indigo. Each into a secondary color indicates the principle, thus into the green signifying peace, orange that signifies the joy, purple denotes. Whoa. Purple denotes the power of indigo, symbolizes beauty, and by adding these four to the secondary principles of these primary ones, the seven principles becomes a manifest. Do you recall them? Yes, I answered, and for my memory seemed to be especially retentive until whenever Lanzara was instructing me, I had felt into each word being into him from impressed by the vivid image upon my mind. And to not be forgotten, I repeated the principles. And then he gives a big old diagram, how it all works, what's what, and so it's going to be like a little flame, a little lightning bolt, and a little high heart, A, D, B, C, and then positive and negative receptors, like a battery. And then there's going to be what looks like to be a plug-in of AC circuit at the top. So by adding these four of the secondary principles into the first primary ones, into a total of seven principles becomes manifest. Do you recall them? Yes, I'd answered. And from my memory, it seemed especially keen and to be retentive. Whenever Lanzara was instructing me, I had felt upon each word, and from hitting to him impressed by a vivid image upon my mind, never be forgotten, I repeated the principles. There's seven colors and seven principles. There's three primary, which are blue, red, yellow. And the principles that will follow them are going to be the primary principles: life, love, light. Then you're going to have the secondary principles, are the secondary colors: green, orange, purple, indigo. And then there's going to be the following principles: peace, joy, power, beauty. Now, Lanzara said, what happens when the elements is back into being added into each of the three primary colors? The three colors, which originally are to be cheerful and a bright hue, would become dark, dull, and doram. And I replied, gazing directly into my eyes of the Venetian, said, you are right. And to being precisely in the same manner, if we add into the element of the darkness or the negativity, our three primary principles of life, love, and light, the total effect is negative. That it is the four secondary principles being obscured, so that instead of the manifesting of all seven principles as forces of positive, we would unhappily manifest the opposites, namely the forces of negative: ignorance, fear, hatred, revenge, disease, ugliness, death. However, Lanzara continued, you must not make the mistake of presuming that by practicing what your world calls positive thinking, you will be thereby eliminated from automatically all these forces to be negative. Positive thought is indeed useful and a step right into the direction, but as you well know, and to be in the individual to be exceedingly positive and about the most negative, destructive, and harmful things, an armed man can be a positive mind killer. A brilliant scientist can think positively that he is so able to assemble a guided missile, which is the sole purpose, the mass destruction of many other human beings. Do you see now how the vitality is important? It is for the humanity and to find the true formula. In this hydrogen bomb age, with a deadly interconnectional ballistics missile, the need is more urgent than ever before the history of the planet Earth, I remarked gravely. Happily for your Earth and all humanity, there is a way whereby the 7 curses, the forces of the negative, can be eliminated and from your planet, said Lanzara. And for as it was in this same means into our own world, Venus was transformed into that positive planet by radiating forces of positive. Boy, if I couldn't, I swear it. And by we accomplish into your people of earth may also mean to achieve into what's the assistance of our Venetian lords. You could reverse your aging and all of this stuff by that, like the laws of the Bible is like the keystone step to understanding the earth, how it works, and the keys to life. Then you get the keys to life through the understanding of everything's allegorical, speaking of how the common, like, it's so wild how the Bible is simple, but we overcomplicate it and we try to speak fear into the world. It's not fear. It's never been fear. It's to not fear, knowing that if the Lord is for you, who shall be against you? And what calleth the entire universals into two existence? The two primal powers in essence are electrical, will, and magnetic love. And as you have previously learned, are comprised of 2 electrons, vitrons. These 2 forces may be manifest in various ways. On the 7 different planes of existence, the mechanical force are spiritual powers, but they also into the same divine. So like when you see something strange happening around you, don't pay any attention to it. Allow it to happen, knowing that like karma is real. Primordial powers, will, or the life of love, mutual attraction, and acting through the instrumentality of the mind of God, Father, and his hierarchy of the wise ones, who being directed of the 2 great powers by intelligence. The man's greatest mistake has been to the imagine that as an individual entity, having a will of his own, whose mode of attraction is different from the universal will, this serious mistake has been the cause of individual, national, and international problems of humanity on earth. The only solution lies in correcting the base cause. Earthlings will not be able to build a better world, a positive planet, until they understand this truth. Life, our will, is the universal power. With it, all things live. Without it, all things die. It causes a revolution of planets in space, and it pervades and penetrates into everything. It does not require your strengthening of it. It is already strong enough to be accomplished by everything. Your divine duty as a human being is simply to recognize the universal will and permit it to act and manifest freely through you. You may then experience the fullest extent of its strength if you do not attempt to oppose it. But if you ignore the universal will and think that your personal human is ever separate and superior, the great original power, which is the natural result, you merely divert the insignificant part of the life of the energy and suppose it into the original willpower of the universe. And as you are only significant in the part of the latter, you will be overwhelmed by the 7 curses. The bring of your own destruction. Long ago, we discovered that the man's function is to embody the 3rd primary principle, which is light or intelligence. When man uses his reason and intelligence, and he needs no personal will, for he can tune in into the will of the universal spirit and to utilize its unlimited power in a wise manner. Then I said, into all of our humanity's troubles and from much its short-sightedness into the ignoring of the universal will, which I will perceive into the laws of life as are found in all laws of nature. That's the Bible. It's teaching you the laws of nature through the study of plants, and the study of the earth is the study of the Bible. The Bible was literally what Goff was trying to explain in his theory of evolution. That was the opposite of Darwinism, is that we are one and the same with plants. We are one and the same with all living beings, self-creating this experience here. Contrary to the great will at once in becoming the conflict of the infinitely greater power, and it thus being sooner or later broken by the law of knowingly or unknowingly has opposed. Light is the highest principle. Light is the highest primary principle. The true formula replied into the adapt is indicated by the position and the three circles shown in our insignia. You will note that the golden yellow circle is upon the puremost. There is not a very good reason for this. It denotes the fact that the principle of light is intelligence, and that is the highest principle in the universe. For by employing our reason of intelligence in harmony with the universal design, peace, and goodwill to all men, we may guide and to conduct the already existing life energy in nature, thereby cause it to accomplish marvelous things, imperfect in accordance with the laws of nature. So all they did was study nature. That's where we got a lot of the botanical gardens. In the past, they were studying every plant, everything inside of what we would call an inner life, which is a botanical garden. It's a whole conditioned place where we plant a bunch of plants what could be in subtropical climates, now bring them to our climate, and now they'll have their own form of life within this little globe. And so they were studying the plants and studying how everything was interconnected through the golden sequencing and the Fibonacci sequence. And so the understanding of the Fibonacci sequence, how everything is developed from a seed, and the golden ratio, now how everything is processed out from that seed into being this most perfect creation of source creation, and how everything follows the same coding. The same coding is the literal fact that we are all quite simply a creation brought here for the experience. And when you think of numbers, you think of coding, you think of a computer. And what is a computer? A computer input on a screen after hitting the graphics processor, after the CPU. My goodness, you get a display. That's what you see. You're reading code in real time. When human beings employ this intelligence, it is attuned with the golden will called the goodwill. And to all beings, he or she is then overjoyed and to find the 7 blessings beginning and to manifest his or her life. Moreover, these blessings continue and to increase the more true formula it is observed. The 7 blessings being then the forces of positivity. I ask in recalling again those 7 wonderful principles. Truly, replied Lanzara, real treasure is not about on the outside of the man, but within him. That's why I was telling everybody, material gain is not it. Understanding the self is. You could be a multi-millionaire and still be empty if you don't understand the self. And if you understood the self, you can't act out. You can't. Then you're in those lower 7, which leaves you on lockout. It consists of intelligence by which a man may direct the force of his spirit life into being created into his good idea, idealizes and brings forth in a perfect order money and peace. Harmony and peace. My goodness. I was like, what? Harmony, you see, is love. If the creator in the cosmos had used only blind force without love and the intelligence, there could have never been an orderly creation. Yes, added Shilana, love is, as we might say, cohesion, or a universal force that holds all things together, keeping all things right in relationship to their source. What is the secret of achieving a love consciousness is simply to work in harmony with your source divine spirit. Live, move, move, and act in a conscious awareness of the life we love and light. And knowing that we are, by doing so, you are keeping your life in a divine perfect order. These 3 primary principles are working in through all living beings. This makes all one life, the oneness and the unity of life. And you can no longer think of yourself as separated and from the universal source. Boy, I just want to jump up for joy and Udale and Udaloo, and I'm just delicious. Selves, until we can do nothing, it is the living spirit that quickens and reanimates our thoughts and our bodies, and we are able to express a creative power, thereby perfecting ourselves and our physical environment. As I listen to entrap enraptured these golden words and wisdom, and for my wonderful space friends, I felt this sense of oneness. It was indeed a profound experience and a glorious moment that produced the all unfolds that into the light, and with the love of my own soul and spirit, suddenly I could see that the science of the Venusians was a secret. Only to those who did not know and feel the unity of all of life, surely the space people could find many others on Earth who understood love's power. Those earthlings could assist. Only few are chosen, said Lanzara, reading my mind. And among the billions of earthlings, simply because the majority are not physically, mentally, and most importantly of all, spiritually expressing the higher vibrations of love, we can only assist those who are ready to receive our influence. That's why when you try to teach people, they're just like, nah. They're like, what are you saying, dude? And you're like, do you not hear the words that is coming out of my mouth? What was that? It's a movie about a city where the black dude talking to the Asian dude. Funny scene. We can only approach into those who are spiritually and to approach our own sphere. Love causes mutual attraction, evil repulses. The pure will being attracted into the pure. The evil ones that do which is impure to give proposes, and to the capped city is to receive on that part of him is to receive. The sunlight is open to all, but not all are able to see it. Bro, that's not a verse in the Bible. The eternal fountain of the cosmic truth is exhaustible into the universal, but those who to open their hearts into the reality presence are few. We come in peace, seeking our own, those who recognize us and can see us as we do great need for the world of enlightenment. Those who wish to contact us, said the Venetians, may prove their sincerity of purpose by concentrating their full attention upon the Venetians' insignias. For 5 or more minutes daily, the insignia should first be colored with all the correct colors. Whoa. While concentrating, the students shall meditate deeply upon the profound significance of the 3 primary principles, life, love, and light. And the 4 secondaries, peace, joy, power, beauty, are the conclusions of the concentration period. My goodness. The students should mentally invoke their own true cosmic teacher from Venus. This practice at all the same times will expand his spiritual awareness. We then lead him to gradually being by silent means first into one little thing. This is how come you could astral project in meditation. And then you could stream conscious. Stream consciously, what I mean by that is, say you're walking down the street, you see a bird. While you're in your meditative state, after you saw that bird, you can now focus on what the conscious thought of the constructs in which the bird was thinking when it saw you, and you could snap into different constructs of consciousness. It doesn't matter whose brain it is, doesn't matter any of that, down to a tree. I swear it. And it's too much for people using the lower 7 to slightly comprehend on the lowest scale if you delivered it to them in a careful, constructed way, like, hey, you should meditate, clear the mind. Once you meditate, clear the mind, your mind kind of does its own little thing, like, you just better buckle up. You're on a rocket ship now, and you're going to blast off. And then all these movies, all these shows, everything you see is not going to be too far-fetched, especially the movie Jumper. That's why I was so fascinated by it. And anything that you're fascinated by in movies is the idea that you're probably fascinated about them because you remember something far beyond your wildest comprehension. If you can't remember past that, you're too blocked up. The pineal gland is blocked. And that's why I've been trying to tell people, unblock your pineal, but I'm just talking to walls. Along the path of return until it is being evolved into the point where of us will become the personal teacher, he will experience and to be guided to a visible contact, such as you have experienced. Mysteries will begin to make planet to him at a time, which would be dangerous, and to seek without the aid of one to the elder brothers. Brothers. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. The term of these third lesson suggests the following important questions. What does the path of return really mean? Do you believe A universal formula exists whereby human beings everywhere can live in peace and harmony. Name the three primary principles and their colors, the four secondary principles and their colors. What has been the greatest mistake of Earthman? Well, in the 1300s, we believed to chase after the material wealth as if it was something better than taking care of one another, and greed, malicious ways, and so much more began. And it happened before, but not into this level that one another couldn't live within peace and harmony within each other. And then grand wars started to occur. There was the free beings and the non-free beings. And when the kingdom saw that they were losing a lot of people, they were wondering why. And then truth had erupted that there was free lands. What do you mean free lands? And so these people started going to the free lands. And then it was one force against the other. And it wasn't supposed to be like that. It was supposed to be, let me instruct you, teach you. But jealousy had occurred. Well, now if I follow under your teachings, they're your teachings, and I didn't create the teachings. Let me get rid of you. Now they're my teachings, but then light code lockdown. This level of interconnectivity was locked out of. But now it said, this book was built in the 1950s, that Jesus was returning and he would be there momentarily. And that to just stand by. And when he gets there, all will be taught and brought in a healthy manner. And so that everyone on the earth may understand who they are, where they come from, and what are the powers that they hold within themselves, and that everyone is amazing in a starseed. Literally, Leonardo da Vinci was showing this with the body spread out in a star without showing you what the star was. You were just supposed to see his teachings and understand the triad, and he was coding it all so perfectly so that not the wrong person will get a hold of something. Man, this, how do you explain this experience to anyone without, my goodness. While Lanzara was instructing into me the method and by which sincere individuals on Earth may invoke the aid of the space people and to come into an attunement with one or more of the cosmic teachers on Venus, Shalana had quietly walked back into the space disk into the center of the clearing. She had entered the craft and after a few moments reappeared at the door. Her right hand she had carried a small tray. The tray held 3 large golden chalices, one filled with a creamy sparkling liquid. Walking over to where Lanzara and I had stood, Shalina smiled, saying, "My brothers, forgive my momentary absence. I have prepared a delicious tropical elixir for each of us. It is a custom of our people to partake often into the liquid of refreshment." The suggestion was most welcome, and for my excitement over tonight's contact with these wonderful beings, I had been and forgotten completely about any need for nourishment. And as I had passed by my unusual supper, I looked and forward into the happy, refreshing elixir of Shalana, and being prepared for us, if this was the elixir made from the foods grown on the planet Venus, it would not, to no doubt, possess a flavor, quality unknown unto the earthlings. Shalana served into each of us a golden chalice, full to the brim of the creamy liquid. Lanzara had proposed a toast. "Let us drink to life, love, and light on earth." We did, and it was so wonderful, and in effect that made me gasp with the pleasant surprise. Not only was the taste of the beverage exquisitely delicious, as the thought of it had been concocted from some truly Ambrosian tropical fruit, and the electrically vivifying action of the elixir was immediately positive, whereas I had felt somewhat weak and lacking in this energy. I had now felt entirely refreshed and amazing and strengthened. "That which you drank," Lanzara explained, "is one of many such vitality elixirs we enjoyed regularly every day on Venus. We prepared these unusual beverages and from various tropical, subtropical fruits, which was bound in being positive of the electrical qualities as well as being delightfully delicious to the taste. By drinking of these special food elixirs consistently, the men and women of Venus realized the superior health and the superior health and preserve their youthful looks of several centuries. And of course, we have other means whereby we are able to live long enough in one particular body to attain a high state of conscious involvement in the mind and body. If Earthman but knew it, this is his goal, and but for rightly being directed to the divine energies of life, love, that thereby he would forebuild himself and all of mankind a state of heaven and harmony on earth, as well into hereafter, as the time is coming, what shall harmonious conditions shall exist on your planet. We're about to hit the golden age. The sun is turning, the sun has returned, and with that, the information which I'm talking about will widely be remembered by many. It will be manifested by intelligent means of men in power and women who realize that all three of these primary powers, life, love, and divine wisdom, light, act from within each individual. Self-knowledge that therein is a basic need of your people. Self-discovery. You have to know yourself to obtain this. When you know that the divine Trinity principles, bro, I'm about to jump up and start doing some goofy dance right now because are operative within every person, all that is required is a program of world enlightenment. Boom, light code being shot down when the sun returns. And bruv, people is not ready. Stop using fear-based systems to trap people any longer. Doesn't exist. Life, love, and light, and I said that there are no true forces than that shall usher into another golden age on earth. You can't stop it. No matter what you do, they used Project Looking Glass to try and stop it. They could not stop it. Now all they could do is slow it down. How do they slow it down? Negative, lower 7 energies. What do we do as observers? We are here to observe. We are third-personing, in a sense, our own reality, that we are able to snap out of body. And like all of this stuff is so amazing, but you have to believe it with an open mind and open heart, or it's just empty words. For I see now that a prophecy of 1,000 years of peace and goodwill on earth. Sounds good to me. It is but the secondary effect of the three primary causes. True, replied Lanzara, your long-awaited millennium and too nearer to you realize. Still, we have no time to wait for it. Each individual on earth has the most important task to perform right now. Let one and two attempt to restore the harmony in their own mind, body, and soul by recognizing the universal nature of life, love, and light, and that the next step is to actually live in according to these three principles. And to the most, utmost, and to your understanding, this will automatically bring into you the tune of harmony with all other nature laws, and that they are but secondary manifestations of the three primary principles. This may be somewhat strange and to be difficult and to do at first, but the will become easier and more satisfying to persist into the living from the source centers. Then harmony of your planet and as a whole will be restored on the earth, will come into its own era of peace, power, and plenty, graduating from this earth life. As I am correct into thinking that each of the 7 sacred planets of which are in Earth as it has its own individual heaven worlds, there the souls take on that planet to go to rest after the physical body dies, I asked. We have found it to be so, the Master had answered, and for it is part of the cosmic plan that each soul must ascend into the kingdom of the sun, the greatest shining world. By mastering the negative conditions of each physical planet, this is what's called the overcoming. Of the matters of the spirit, there is by no way a violent process, but rather a series of gradual steps by which man starts his climb, the great cosmic journey as a bottom rung of the ladder in the planetary systems, which are progressing slowly and from planet to planet until he reaches the top of the ladder. Hermes, Mercury's, Trismegistus, and to the 12 greatest teachers of earth and humanity. I've heard of Hermes, not Mercury's, nor Trismegistus. Taught of the same truth, and when it is said into the divine thought, O souls, you must be to descend and plainly ascend into the paths of the 7 planets and of their 7 heavens. Then I have said unto the average person, it's considered into the ultimate destination, i.e., the heavens. It is no real goal unto all of us, and that there is a heaven around each of the planets in the making of the 7 heavens. Yet of these is only one into the visiting place and to a route in the sun. Yes, each planet is surrounded by its own astral, etherical world, the highest of which is called heaven. Which, when a human being on any planet dies, the soul leaves the physical body and its astral body enters into first of all the lower astral frequencies of the atmosphere, which is usually into the death. The individual goes into the period of the soul sleep, or the unconsciousness. This period and varies in different souls, and during which the period dwells in for a time in his astral body. As for this fades, he lives only into a point of from the divine atom. The divine atom then slowly gravitates into a higher region of the etherical world, and until it attains into the more blissful heaven region of the ethereal. During its sojourn or sleep, the lower astral frequencies next to the planet and the soul gradually awakens from its deep, dreamless sleep, and as it raises into a higher etheric region, the etheric regions, and to begin into a dream and to create a vivid mental pictures of the living things, the sensations most loved and desired while the material plane of the planetary life, as in a dream, and to take more and more sense of the urgency and to manifest a universal law of rebirth becomes so automatically operative in the individual soul, it is drawn magnetically by thought and to desire back into the material world, and it wakes up in a new physical body. My goodness. With some good souls, there is an urgency to come back and to try again and to pass certain tests. The planet's objectives of the life plane. Bear in mind through that what you've been, the rebirth of no actual progression in a new, more advanced planet. This does not take place until the individual has become reborn so many times on a particular planet that he or she has become constantly developed in a greater knowledge of life, love, and light. And from this knowledge of wisdom is born, and wisdom is derived, and from the experience of the soul is the material estate. And that which in the purpose of wisdom is to enable man and to release himself from the physical cravings, appetites, and sensations, and from which magnetize him or her to one physical world. The law of rebirth takes the magnetic principle on your planet for the insistence of a soul has just newly arrived and must begin into its earth life in the 12 months. These worlds are composed of finer grades of the densities of the matters in which are invisible into the ordinary physical sight. Each month of Earth year is but one small division of the great zodiacal circle, and if each month bestows upon the soul a different planetary influence than if any others in the months, in order for the soul to gain all the qualities of the 12 zodiacal principles and periods, and thereby acquire complete experience. And from the planet Earth, it rotates through each of the zodiacal signs by a series of successive births. Each new rebirth on the earth adds a completeness of the soul's experience. Yep. That's all, folks. And by the time as the soul has completed the 12 zodiacal rounds, a total of 144 earth lives, it should, if it has been diligent, to have overcome its animal nature and mastered the physical appetites. If so, the gravitational pull of planet Earth can no longer hold it to be drawn back into the Earth, and for more embodiments, the soul had to become more positive, and hence it draws magnetically towards the higher advanced planet. This is known as the great day of the soul's graduation from a less evolved world into a more spiritual and advanced planet. What happens? I inquired, if a soul refuses to apply itself and fails to gain enough wisdom and to enable it master its negativity and the nature of to overcome the pull of gravity, several undesirable things will happen. The master replied, and for one, the soul will remain earthbound, drawn back into another cycle of the 12 earth lives. In order, and two, it cannot be permitted and to graduate until it has learned and through experiences to recognize the primary principles of life, love, and light. You trapped here until you learn this. Each successive cycle of the 12 rotations is much harder than the first, and only by the severe trials and tests does a soul begin to manifest wisdom. Perhaps the most unpleasant result of not keeping up with your fellow classmen in the planetary school of life, that is, the student who fails to graduate with the others, will eventually find himself in the company of much younger souls from less advanced planets and such as Mars, those younger souls find it quite difficult to understand the older soul. As so, it is always better not to become a planetary laggard, and for those who do not keep in pace with their particular life wave, our group are bound to find their planetary experiences with more uncomfortable. The solution of this problem is not complicated, but it does more require a greater exertion of effort on the parts of ones who are backwards in their planetary progress. If they are sincere into desiring to catch up with their original group, they should seek to obtain much wisdom as possible from each experience in each of their daily lives. Instead of looking at outer effects only, they should make it a special point to look beneath the surface of these things into the inner causes of the effects of this that they see. They must learn and discover these causes for themselves and not rely on others to do the mental work for them. As an example, if an individual comes ill, he should first search his own actions to discover the true cause of his illness. For unless he recognizes his own mistake and by using his own intelligence, he can have no permanent health. Without wisdom, one cannot advance into the next higher planet. And wisdom comes through self-knowledge, self-discovery, and a deeper understanding of the natural laws of life. To make sure of your graduations, therefore, you double and redouble your efforts to know thyself. For if you do this, you will begin to know how a microcosmos of the small universe functions. Then by the I know the word, I just can't say it. Analogy, you will have at first to be comprehended as the macrocosmos, the great universe, is designed, and for truly as it is below, so is it above. And it will be the lesser, and so that the larger life, love, and light and govern all things. Physical death is not inevitable. I have mentioned previously that if it is entirely possible to forestall death of your physical body for an indefinite length of time, if certain natural laws and practices are observed on Venus, the men and women do not age rapidly as people do of Earth. Evergreen youthfulness is a rule rather than the expectations of Venus to live for 500 or 1,000 years, and one physical body is not uncommon for our people. Does the fact startle you? And it need not. And for remembering that if the average Venusian is near the level of adeptship, that if you will recall into some of the Earth's adepts, that being able to prolong thy experience of youthful vigor for several centuries. Master, I exclaimed, how is it that this great extension of physical life in the same bodily is possible? As well as you know the people of Earth, and to consider it a marvelous thing if they succeed in reaching the old age of 100 years, despite the efforts of our men in sciences, and the average person finds it exceedingly difficult to prolong his life. I have noticed that into most cases the human body starts to break down at about age 40 and becomes less and less effective, and from then on, so-called the age of 65 years and over, is usually associated with the weakness of disease and an untimely death, just as at the time in which the individual is beginning to gain some real wisdom, and could thus of most value be useful to the world. Neither a plant or an animal nor a human being can be expected to live and grow healthily unless it receives the food of the stimulus and it requires, replied Lanzara, but unfortunately the average earthling has never taken the time to think out the question of the vital nutrition. To its log, Comte de Saint-Germain is a notable example. Frederick the Great referred to him as a man who does not die. Gonna take a break there. That's halfway through the book. What did we learn? Everything we already knew, but that we were able to deliver it in foreknowledge for boom. I put not gel. I put coconut oil, but not an oil, it's a paste, a coconut paste. And kind of like it because I had a spray before, but it wasn't as fulfilling to the hair. And so, but this is almost like a gel, and it keeps my hair in this perfect spot. So we're almost done with this book. We just cooked through 40 pages in approximately 124 minutes, which is 2 hours, 4 minutes. I got to charge me devices for 12 on the clock. You know what I mean? Gonna FaceTime my beautiful daughter. Make sure that she's all energetic and bubbly as always, which she is. But I just like to tap in, tell her I love her, and that she's my most prized possession. Be a great person. Reap the rewards of the fruit of the seeds you've been planting. I've been saying this. The book wasn't yet in my. I've been trying to explain it in such a watered down version of what it truly is, but this book is everything that I've been saying over the past couple months. We're about to hit the golden age. What a time to be alive. I just be right back. Gonna charge up these screens. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.